This is Immortals of Aveum. We're here on Xbox Series X. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So this was provided as part of the EA Content Creators Network. So thanks to them for being able to take a look at this riveting experience. So what are we getting here? Well, the game does list that it's a 4K resolution, but I don't really think you could call it that because, like, obviously this is like heavily reconstructed. So for context, this is another one of those UE5 games, Unreal Engine 5, and it is using really aggressive levels of this thing called FSR, which is the AMD Super Fidelity 2.0 something, I believe, or I think it's just 2.0, and it is like really FSR'd. You know, like there's a lot of games where you're kind of like, oh, that's it's a digital reconstruction imagery. There's a lot of games where you're like, oh, I can kind of see that, like the water and whatnot, but like this one you can like really see it most of the time, like the wavy stuff. And I don't know how this shows up when you're watching it as a video, but like the water, like even just like the environment in general has all this like fuzzy kind of like almost artifacting to like every bit of the experience. So it's more like a sub 1080p, something like, pretty sure it's like 900p, but it varies, right? So that's the biggest thing, is like it is a varying thing, right? Like it's dynamic. So the idea is that like as the performance, as the challenges kind of increase in regards to like what's going on in the environment, the game will dynamically change the visual fidelity in order to match that. So I'm assuming there's like a bit of a threshold of like 1440p, but you're really like I would struggle to see spots where that was kind of the case. It is 60 FPS, but like it is decently fluid. Like, I will say that for like the most part it is okay. It's a lot like the hectic battles, the frame rate definitely does tank a fair bit. There was a couple boss fights where it's like literally there was this oceanic kind of fight and like the whole world was just fuzz and I couldn't tell what anything was, and there was like the performance was buckling a bit. So there are some performance drops and there are some segments where it chugs, and there's a lot of cutscenes where it seems like there's performance issues. So I don't know why the cutscenes seem to have issues. Like the cutscenes actually seem to have the best visual fidelity I've kind of noticed, if that makes sense. Like they seem to hold up the best in regards to like clarity, but yeah, they also seem to have a lot of performance issues as well. And this does have like ray tracing applied, which I'm assuming is some sort of lighting kind of effect in this one. I wouldn't expect anything too heavy past that. But yeah, that's kind of what we've got in terms of the visual experience, and I hope that kind of covers it. I went a little bit more in depth than usual because I really wanted to kind of give you like context into the visual experience when you are jumping into this one, as it is variable. So this is, as you've kind of been noticing, a first-person shooter, magic shooter game. So I mean, we started to see a few different kinds. Oh, look, the stream of FSR. Oh, just majestic. Like that's always like kind of the first thing I look at when I'm checking out a game to see if it's got like reconstruction stuff, is usually the water, because consoles can only use, well, the Xbox, PlayStation can use FSR because it's AMD technology, right? So like that is always something that you can easily check out, as the water is not, like, it does not upscale that well. And like being UE5, it's like, the rocks and stuff look really quite good when they're sharp, but like it's got such like a grayscaled kind of like ugly color palette to the game. It's a little disappointing because like you know, you've got cool spells. Like, the spells are kind of cool when you're shooting them off, and, like, aesthetically it can be really pleasing when that's happening, but, like, yeah, it's a really just kind of grayscale, kind of, like, bland-looking aesthetic a lot of the time, which is disappointing. Anyways, going on to the story. This is a narrative-driven first-person shooter where you blast magical spells, you take on various enemies, and you know what? It's honestly decently lengthy. Like, it is. I think it took me like something like 10 hours. I think most people would probably take longer to kind of work through. And you know, I was kind of just doing story stuff. There are some side activities to a degree. Like, it's like a semi open world, if that makes sense, but it's not like a really, like, it's basically semi-open world in the sense that, like, it's designed in a way that keeps you going through, like, the same areas. So this game has a real issue with padding. I would have almost preferred a tighter story, a tighter narrative, because it feels really, really padded out. Like, you go through the same areas multiple times where it's just like enemies are there to just literally add time. Some enemies are extra spongy just to, like, add time. And it's just like you do kind of the same things. Like, you go through a beginning city area, and then you do that again, like literally a chapter after that, like an hour later, and then you do it again later on in the game once more. And it uses like the ethereal area a lot, so you'll literally be like visiting kind of this like open, empty, like cube landscape. So you do that quite a bit, and it's just kind of like, the story is okay. I don't, like, I find the characters to be, like, kind of annoying. Like, it's got kind of like the Forspoken school of, like, chit-chat, if that makes sense. So, like, some of it was kind of funny and witty, I will say. But, like, a lot of it was just kind of, like, characters talking, and characters talking. And doing all kinds of stuff. So either the humor is gonna hit for you, or you're gonna be a little bit like, could you guys just kind of be quiet? And you know, your mileage is gonna vary a bit in that regard. Do I want to go to the library of Makoth, or do I want to kind of go? Sky Islands are kind of nice. So yeah, from that perspective, it's like story-wise, it's fine. It tells a tale. It's nothing too deep. It's very predictable. Like, I knew, like, immediately all of the twists. Like, literally, like, I streamed it, so you can actually go and watch. And, like, I literally called who the big twist is, and this twist, and that. Like, it's very, very straightforward. And like all games that are story-driven, there is an element of, like, crafting and upgrading built into it, so you get slightly better tools when you play, and you know, and stuff like that. So that's kind of an addition to it as well. So like, there is a good collection of characters. There are some weird situations though where it's kind of like some characters are in the plot and then they just kind of vanish, and then some of them just kind of like randomly appear again, and it's very strange from a narrative perspective how some characters are like just kind of there, and then they're like, oh, I'm not part of this, and then they're just suddenly there again later on, and it was very odd from a narrative structuring standpoint. I was just very confused because it's like, oh, this character, they seem like they're very important, and then it's like they're just halfway through the game, they just kind of vanish. You might be like, oh, that's because they were killed. And it's like, no, they just kind of left. It's just kind of weird. And, yeah, so story-wise, it's a bit odd. Like, I didn't mind the story. Like, for like a first-person shooter, it's not bad. And like I said, it is decently lengthy, but it is very repetitive in what you're doing. Which is a little bit of a shame, because like, it's a game where you literally have like these awesome magical firing abilities, but I was just like, oh, I'm fighting this enemy again, and it's like, oh, this enemy is slightly spongier this time, or like a slightly different color, because it's kind of cool where it's like, if you've got like red shielded enemies, you gotta, your red ability's good, and, there is an element of like blocking and attacking with your like magical shield thing that I have here, and you can do like a counter stuff. And then there's like a talents list where you're improving like, you know, your talents and stuff, and yeah, that's kind of cool. And then going back to the story, like you play, I guess you should say, as this character named Jack. It's kind of like a little annoying. You know, he talks a lot. Like myself, obviously. Haha. But like, you know, and then you've got kind of like a group of misfit kids, I guess he's with, and then there's like a time jump thing, and yeah, that's kind of like the opening gist of it. And then there's all these characters that all have different like motives, and you know, they all got different thoughts on things and how stuff runs, and they keep strangely like a lot of stuff hidden from you. Oh, and the parkour in this game is just like okay to atrocious most of the time. Like these grappling hook things just like absolutely drive me crazy. Like a lot of the time they just like would not seemingly work for me, but I'm glad I'm rocking it right here so I don't look all embarrassed. But like, yeah, it's infuriating actually to to like parkour and move around in this game whenever those segments came up. I was just like, oh. So like it's okay, but it's just, it really isn't anything like too special. Like it's solid, but I like, you know, for like a first person shooter, it's decently long. Like, you know, that's good. If you like the gameplay, you like the shooting stuff, the magic, if you kind of get into the characters, like, you know, it could be an alright time. That's for sure. And you know, you get to do all this cool stuff, and you get to do all these crazy fights, and I don't even think I want to try to crack whatever puzzle this is. Like, there's puzzles, like, they don't take you too long. Sometimes you'll be like, oh, what does it want from me? But like, you know, it's not too bad. Like, I'm just kind of sit here because you have to like, there's like light bouncing you'd have to do here because you got like these different things that like let you shoot off light. So I'd have to bounce some light, and then I'd have to open some eye things to do that, and this thing like slows stuff. That just looks like tedious work to me, you know what I mean? It just looks like a tedious thing where I'm just kind of like, I don't want to deal with that in the slightest. And I mean, after you're done the game, it's kind of like you can just kind of free roam and stuff and do some slight kinds of missions, and then enemies just kind of appear, but like there's nothing really too substantial. Kind of like when you're sort of done, you're done. So like it's fine as a story. Like I actually would have maybe even preferred it to be a little shorter so that it was like tighter on its narrative, because it's just kind of like, it felt a little, like I said, bloated and whatnot and repetitive to the point where it's kind of like I would have almost thought it as shorter but sweeter would have been, I think, a good thing for it. But you know, people, you want your value out of stuff, which I get, but like I think a tighter crafted narrative sometimes offers something a little bit more enjoyable or rewarding in some circumstances, and I think this one would have done a little bit better with something a little bit tighter. So it's not really too surprising. It's generally just kind of solid in terms of story. I mean, we've already really dove into like, you know, the visual stuff of it, but it's like, again, for like a game of Magic, it's got an incredibly bland sort of like color palette, which is, I think the word is shocking to me, because it's sort of like, you know, like magical spells like pew pew, that looks cool, and that looks cool, and this looks neat, but it's also kind of like, with that really aggressive FSR, everything looks so, I don't know, is blurry the word? I don't know, it's just, it doesn't look very clean, and it doesn't look very crisp, and I don't know if this is like some kind of like thing that we're just gonna have to get used to for like, what did I get attacked from? You know, with like FSR stuff going forward and UE5, but it's like, it kind of leaves a lot to be desired, because it's just like, you know, other games that in the past have released without sort of like a resolution, like resolution scaling is cool because, you know, it can look better over time, but like with this FSR stuff, I don't really know if it's gonna improve that much unless they actually go back to like do an update on things, and I don't think that's really gonna be the case. This does seem to be like a pretty deep in lore kind of game, There's something like 25 spells, or more than 25 spells, and like 80 talents that kind of show the talent tree. You upgrade your stuff and everything, like I mentioned. So it's like, you know, I think from a perspective of like, you want a cool, easygoing, kind of magical experience. Like, I didn't think anything was too hard. It was just kind of like some spots were a bit grindier than others, and I was just kind of getting tired of it. But like, yeah, it's okay. It's a fine game. It's just like, I think for me the biggest thing is it's just kind of like forgettable. You know, like you're battling in this ever war, and it's got, you know, this really interesting build up where there's all this crazy stuff happening, and there's some really cool cinematic moments in this game where you are doing some like, you know, really crazy stuff, like wild things are going on, which is really cool. But like a lot of it just sort of, I don't know, just kind of stretches on, and like it feels almost like a wasted potential where they could have, you know, pushed the narrative a lot more. I think would have been kind of cool. You know, kind of even dove into that lore a bit. Like, it's got a varied cast of characters for sure. Like, you got all kinds of different people coming in, but like, I don't know if you also spend enough time with them, and I don't, like, I didn't really see many opportunities to get to spend more time with them, if that makes sense. Like, you get some spots where you can go off and like talk to characters, and that's how you would meet some. But like, there's this ambassador lady that I kept seeing, but like, if you didn't really go out of your way, I don't think you'd really know who she was at all. And I don't think she really serves much of a purpose either. It just seems like a lore that was kind of like begging to be dove into more, because it's like, oh, we're in this really cool kind of place where some crazy magical experimentations like shattered the worlds, and there's like an oceanic type area, and there's like a lava place, but you just kind of go through it and you shoot a bunch of stuff and then you leave, and it's, you know, just kind of a next part of your story. The Lattice Fane, I don't know if we want to go there specifically. I'm gonna try to find like a cool other spot we gotta go to. And I was also a little disappointed that it's not like seamless, if that makes sense. Like, you literally load into areas, and I thought that was gonna be like a really cool part of the experience, was like the fact that, you know, with these kinds of like current gen technology with UE5, that we were gonna see something a little bit more like seamless, if that makes sense. Like, it's like hard loading between areas, and it's not like terribly long, but it is like, you know, it's noticeable, and, you know, just kind of jump along sometimes story wise. Like, you'll get to a point and then you'll just be like kind of loaded somewhere else. You do make some story choices, but it's more just like light dialogue. Like, this is so blurry, I can't even really tell what stuff is here. Like, it literally just, I don't know, it's just kind of a blur effect. Like, I wanted to like this more, and I don't really dislike it. I want to really get that across. Like, it is fine. You know, it's fine. Like, I could see you getting an enjoyable time out of this if you like the concept of it. You want to sit here, you want to shoot magic, you know, that's pretty cool. Like, it offers that, right? And, you know, there's some hidden things to find, there's stuff to do, so there's activities, and, you know, the story is actually decently long for, you know, a shooter game, so that's kind of impressive. And, you know, the plot, well, stretched a little bit, does actually have like a full plot to it, and yeah, it's just kind of like, I almost wish it could have been expanded upon in terms of like focusing more on that story content and fleshing it out, instead of just like going from area to area, kind of blasting the same enemies, or more enemy types maybe would have been nice. I don't know. There's different stuff. There's like constructs and weird monsters that run at you, and different like Magni mages that go after you. So that's kind of cool. And yeah, I don't know. Like, it's really gonna be one of those, oh, I want to go and do a magical shooter. Let's dive in. Let's have a good time. You know, let's play like a story that like goes on for a bit. You know, that's good. If you're wanting something to like really blow your mind in terms of technology, I don't think this is really it. But like, it's a decent effort. I'd like to actually explore more of this universe and see more of what it has to offer. But like, Yeah, we'll see what happens because it's solid, but like again, I think pretty forgettable the long term for me.